Life has a way of stripping us bare, doesn't it? Peeling away layers we once thought essential, leaving us exposed to the raw, biting winds of despair. For a man named Thomas, this stripping began with a whisper and ended with a scream that only his soul could hear. Thomas had always been the steadfast one, the quiet pillar of his family. But then, the world he knew shattered. First, the silent, crushing grief of losing his father, a man whose wisdom had been his anchor. With his father gone, the family fractured. His own brothers, men he had shared childhood dreams with, turned their backs, driven by greed and resentment, leaving Thomas with nothing but the dust of broken promises and a heavy heart. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade. Friends, fair-weather companions vanished like mist in the morning sun, unable or unwilling to bear witness to his fall. Thomas found himself adrift, cast out from the shores of familiarity, marooned on an island of profound loneliness. His once vibrant home, now just a shell, mirrored the emptiness within him. The timbers groaned with the weight of unshared memories, the walls echoing with a silence that screamed louder than any noise. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months. He barely ate, barely slept, his existence reduced to a gray, suffocating haze. Hope, once a distant star, had been extinguished, leaving him in utter darkness. He was lost, truly lost, in a void where even his own shadow seemed to abandon him. He reached the precipice, the very edge of what a soul could bear, convinced that he was utterly, irrevocably alone in the vast, indifferent expanse of the world. It was there, in that deepest valley of despair, when the last vestige of his strength threatened to give way, that a whisper, clear and resonant, pierced the suffocating silence of his soul. It wasn't an audible sound, but an undeniable presence, an inner voice that spoke directly to the core of his being. "You are not alone. I am here." The words were a lifeline thrown into his darkest ocean, a flicker of light in an otherwise absolute blackness. In that instant, something shifted within Thomas. It was a spiritual awakening, a profound realization that despite all he had lost, he was never truly abandoned. A seed of faith, long dormant, began to stir, promising solace and strength he hadn't known existed. With this newfound, fragile hope, Thomas looked at the dilapidated shell of his home, a reflection of his own brokenness. But this time, he didn't see ruin. He saw a challenge, a canvas for rebirth. He decided then and there that if he was not alone, he would rebuild, starting with what was tangible. With hands that had long been idle, he began the arduous task of repairing his house. Each nail hammered, each splintered board replaced, was a small victory, a testament to his renewed resolve. He worked tirelessly, driven by a quiet strength that emanated from his burgeoning faith. The physical act of restoration became a metaphor for the rebuilding of his own spirit, each repair mending a piece of his fractured heart. Though the outside world remained indifferent, within those walls, Thomas was slowly, painstakingly reclaiming himself. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. He worked from dawn till dusk, his hands growing calloused, his muscles aching, yet his spirit strengthening with every plank he planed, every joint he dovetailed. He rediscovered the joy of creation, the satisfaction of seeing something broken made whole again. His father, a master carpenter, had taught him young, and though dormant, these skills now resurfaced with an artistry that surprised even Thomas. The old, weathered wood responded to his touch, transforming into sturdy beams and elegant window frames. Each repair was a prayer, each finished piece a testament to his enduring faith, a quiet conversation with the divine presence he now felt. The house, once a symbol of his despair, began to radiate a quiet dignity. Passers-by, long accustomed to avoiding the crumbling structure, now glanced with curiosity at the subtle changes. One afternoon, a traveling merchant known for his keen eye for quality craftsmanship happened upon Thomas's home. He paused, captivated by a newly carved porch railing, the seamless fit of a restored door, and the sturdy, honest feel of the repairs. He saw not just a house, but a soul poured into its restoration. Intrigued, the merchant approached Thomas, praising his skill and dedication. Such talent, he mused, should not remain within these walls. He saw potential not just in Thomas's carpentry, but in the quiet strength shining from the man. The merchant, whose trade routes stretched far and wide, offered to spread word of Thomas's exceptional craftsmanship. This unexpected encounter was a profound turning point. Thomas, content with solitary work, now saw a new horizon opening, a tangible path forward, echoing the inner voice that had called him back. The merchant, true to his word, began to speak of Thomas's exceptional talent across the region. He carried samples of Thomas's work, a finely carved wooden box, a small, intricate joint, showcasing not just skill, but a dedication that spoke volumes. Slowly, tentatively at first, commissions began to arrive. Neighbors who once averted their glaze now sought Thomas's expertise for their own homes. A broken fence, a creaking door, a wobbly table, each task, no matter how small, was approached with the same meticulous care and quiet reverence he had applied to his own house. With every successful project, Thomas's confidence blossomed. The work was demanding, but it was honest, and it filled his days with purpose. He wasn't just fixing wood, he was mending connections, rebuilding trust, and re-establishing his place in the world. The whispers that once condemned him now spoke of his craftsmanship, his reliability, and the quiet dignity he carried. His reputation, once shattered by betrayal and neglect, was being painstakingly restored, piece by intricate piece, much like the very structures he so skillfully repaired. Yet, amidst this resurgence, a deeper transformation was taking root. The solitude that once had been a burden now felt like a sacred space, a crucible where his faith had been forged. He saw how God had used his greatest losses to reveal a strength he never knew he possessed, a resilience that only emerged from the depths of despair. He found himself thinking of his brothers, not with the bitter resentment that had consumed him, but with a growing sense of detachment, even a nascent understanding. Their betrayal had, in an unexpected way, led him here, to this profound awakening. This newfound peace, however, brought with it a quiet challenge. The path to true freedom lay not just in rebuilding his life, but in releasing the chains of the past. Forgiveness was a word he had avoided, a concept too painful to touch. How could he forgive those who had left him for dead, who had stripped him of everything? The bitterness had been a shield, a familiar companion in his darkest hours. But now, with light returning, that shield felt heavy, an unnecessary burden, an obstacle to the deeper peace he craved. Yet the same inner voice that had whispered, "You are not alone," now seemed to murmur, "You must forgive." It wasn't an accusation, but a gentle guidance, a path towards deeper healing. He understood that true peace wasn't merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of compassion, even for those who had caused him immense pain. This realization was a new kind of challenge, an internal battle far more profound than any physical labor. It took days, perhaps weeks of quiet contemplation, of wrestling with his own wounded spirit. He remembered the teachings of patience and understanding he had learned in his youth, teachings that now resonated with a profound new meaning. He saw how holding on to resentment was like holding a hot coal, hoping to burn someone else. The only one truly suffering was himself. Finally, a clarity settled over him. Forgiveness wasn't about condoning their actions, it was about releasing himself from the prison of resentment. It was about choosing peace over pain, moving forward unburdened by the weight of what had been. He knew what he had to do. The time had come to face his past, not with anger, but with a heart open to the possibility of grace, a heart that now understood the true meaning of strength found through God. With quiet resolve, Thomas sought out his brothers. The meeting was difficult, years of unspoken pain heavy in the air. Yet, as he spoke, not of accusation, but of his journey and the peace he had found, something shifted. He offered them his forgiveness, releasing his own burden. A profound lightness enveloped him, the chains of resentment shattered, and a new, deeper peace, born of spiritual liberation, settled within his soul. Word of Thomas's transformation and his exquisite craftsmanship spread. A traveling merchant, captivated by his work, became his advocate. His reputation was not just rebuilt, but elevated.
His skills, once lost to despair, now flourished, bringing him income and a renewed purpose. Looking at his thriving workshop, at the life he had painstakingly reconstructed, Thomas finally understood. The initial loss, the cruel betrayal, the abandonment, these were not merely suffering, they were the crucible. They had stripped him bare, forcing him to listen to that inner voice, to find God and to rebuild his very soul with his own hands and unwavering faith. Loneliness and loss, he realized, were not the end. They were the difficult beginning of rebuilding oneself, of finding God's unwavering presence, and ultimately of discovering unshakable strength, profound purpose, and an enduring peace that the world could neither give nor take away. His journey was a testament. From the deepest abyss, a life reborn in faith shines brightest. The villagers, once rushing from one task to another, now moved with a newfound